Today we've got a crazy story of revenge against an awful colleague. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, the betrayal that left a hole in my heart. I'd like to recount a period in my life when I thought I wouldn't get over the shock and betrayal I encountered in a circle I felt was my safe space. I was 18 when I got into college, and I think it's safe to say I was young, inquisitive, carefree, and expectant. I can't say what I was expecting, but I knew there was this part of me that wanted to experience the kind of friendship, glamour, and sometimes loyalty that I'd seen in movies. I used to imagine myself in a group of young girls studying while still having the time of their lives. The first friend I met in college was a girl, let's call her P. We met during orientation week, and I remember how we stayed glued to each other and followed each other around like toddlers. We got so close, and I wasn't surprised when P invited me over to the apartment she lived in off campus the same week she met me. And I remember flashing my eyes widely at the magnificence of her room. I told myself there's no way P wouldn't pass for a rich kid. I mean, she had everything in check and place just as it should be. The next day, I looked forward to seeing P in school, and I was thankful that the universe gave me a friend just in the nick of time. To be honest, I was the type of girl who liked to be in the company of others. I used to console myself by saying that I liked wholesome female friendships. So when I met P, she was the type of girl who exemplified every character I'd envisioned in a friend. She was smart, witty, intelligent, generous, and overly protective. She had this trait of trying to make me talk to only her every time we were together, and I found that hilarious. She was intentional about ensuring that I made no other friends at school. It was funny to me because I didn't see how possible it was to have only her as a friend. I mean, I was young and free, and I believed I could meet 1,000 other humans around the college. I didn't like the restrictions that came with her friendship, so I found myself withdrawing gradually from her grip. Also, she was not consistent in school as much as was required. She was either out of town or out with a boy who took her out to some of the most exotic places in California for a sleepover. And as much as I was young and free, I wanted to make my studies a top priority. Well, I couldn't stay alone for too long, and gradually, I began to talk to other girls in my department until I found myself in a group of 4 girls. At the beginning of our friendship, I was very certain that I would feel safe and loved for the longest time possible. I thought so because of the type of bond among the girls I met. I met the girls randomly during a summer event organized by the department. We'd all been paired together for an activity, and I remember vibing so well with everyone except one of the girls. After the event, one of them invited me over to an outdoor picnic, and that was the beginning of a friendship that I thought would make me feel warm throughout my college days. I'd like to give you a sneak peek into the girls and their personalities. Let me start with the first girl in the circle. I'll tag her J. J was the girl I first bonded with. I mean, she was my favorite girl, and also the most beautiful girl in the group. If there is anything like a queen bee in a group of 5 girls, then the title will rest on her. Jay had this aura that made her easily appealing to others. She was well aware of her qualities and she carried herself accordingly. However, she was also the type of girl who liked to be in charge. She knew she had influence, and she liked to use the influence to her advantage. Then there's another girl, let's call her K. She was the wannabe queen bee. She struggled so hard to earn that spot, but it just didn't suit her personality. First, she condescendingly spoke to people and she pretended to be what she wasn't. If I must say, she was someone who got on my nerves easily. I remember the first time I hung out with the girls and how she tried so much to make me feel invisible and unwelcome. She made it clear that there was something about me that upsets her deeply, and trust me to show her clearly that I do not give a darn about her either. Unfortunately, we never got along with each other, no matter how much we tried. Then there's a girl I admire so much in the group. Let's call her L. She was a true definition of virtue and love. She didn't have to force anything. And when I mean anything, I mean she was herself every time. And she never saw any need to impress people to get noticed. To top it all off, she was smart and confident. You can imagine her as that soft-spoken girl who everyone respects and loves to hang around. She was so warm to me, and she was the first person I told when I had my first kiss. One thing I will always remember about her is her innocence and sweet demeanor. Then there's another girl in the circle, let's call her M. M was the curviest, and she possessed this natural charm that was endearing. I shared something special with M as we stayed in the same dorm. She was someone who, I think, got the most attention among us because of her free-spirited nature. Aside from us, she had other close friends she identified with. It was funny how she was mostly everywhere, yet she shared something special with everyone. Then there was me, who completed the circle. Everyone liked to call me a sweet girl, but I was mostly loved for my intelligence and outspokenness. I was just in my second year of college, but I'd managed to gain enough popularity without trying so hard. I knew there was something about me that endeared me to people, but I loved to hear it when people told me that I was lovable and my personality was cute. You can call me a blessed girl who was lucky enough to have experienced different personalities all at once. It was surreal, and for a split second I felt safe with my girls, as I fondly called them. While our friendship lasted, I can say that I had the time of my life with these girls. Unfortunately, the friendship didn't last forever. Everything I felt I'd built with those girls came crashing down like a pack of cards. The split started when Kay wanted to coerce me into engaging in examination malpractice. It started with subtle pleas to impersonate her in a course that threatened to extend her studies in college. I didn't buy into such an idea because I knew that such an act could lead to expulsion if discovered. As much as I love to keep friends, I like to draw the line between being friendly and being stupid. I made sure to stand my ground regarding my decision not to engage in anything that would ruin my academic pursuit. But Kay was insistent. She sought the validation of other girls regarding the issue, and to my dismay, they supported her, with Jay championing the decision. I was in the middle, and I stood all alone. The clock ticked and the days rolled over, and with each passing day, the pressure to go against my will multiplied. Believe me when I say that I tried as much as I could to state clearly that much shouldn't be expected of me in that regard. I couldn't risk such an act, and the least they could all do was to respect my decision. Eventually, the examination date came, and my phone buzzed ceaselessly from the girls. Even my favorite girl in the circle joined in to taunt me when I didn't show up to help. To be honest, I didn't know what made me mad, that they had tried to disregard my stance, or how they felt they could convince me no matter what. It suddenly dawned on me that the girls had absorbed me into the group because of what I could do for them, and not necessarily because of my personality. That experience created a deep fear in my heart regarding friendship and trust. That was the beginning of all my woes in school. These girls made sure to spread all manner of ill talks about me. I mean, it got so bad that I got stopped every other day by course mates and mutual friends just so they could find out if I was truly a bad person who didn't want other people's success. It got so bad that some students began to avoid me, and others derided me for no just cause at all. I didn't know that the worst was yet to come for me until I vied for a position on the student council. I lost woefully, even though I had very huge prospects of winning before everything fell apart. After the elections, a group of students walked past me briskly. Then I could hear them giggle and call me loser. One of them said, "How could she have hoped to win? A traitor can never represent us well." I walked on slowly with so much heaviness in my heart, while I wondered how I went from being everyone's sweetheart to being everyone's nightmare. I was lost in thought when another girl boldly approached me to say, "Why would you switch on your friends when they needed you the most? I wonder how you would treat us if you won." With the confirmation that Jay and the other girls were behind my woeful loss in the student council elections, I was determined to ensure that they got a dose of their wickedness. I couldn't believe that those girls never liked me, but they came for me with the prospect of what they could benefit from. I was so livid, but I still needed to remain calm to get back at them, where it would hurt just as much. I had the chance to get back at them when the lecturer, Mr. G, whose course I represented, called my attention to a research project he gave. He had noticed that some works looked similar and were plagiarized, and he had chosen to take time out to figure out what was amiss. Unfortunately, Jay and her friends were the culprits. I wasn't surprised to see that they dubbed each other's work, as they derived joy from cutting corners. Well, he decided to take it up, and I didn't stop him. Maybe I could have said one or two things in their favor, but I didn't. I wanted them to find out how it would feel to feel helpless. I knew Mr. G would draw enough attention to the case, as he had warned his students against avoiding the real work just to cut corners. He had a way of saying, and I quote, "Hard work doesn't kill. That's why I'm still alive." Most students like to mimic his quotes to make themselves feel better whenever he gives them loads of assignments to do. Mr. G made sure he brought the girls before a disciplinary panel, and he made sure that all the due processes were followed. The week the girls faced the disciplinary panel, I stood aside, more like I was in deep solitude, and pondered the choices I'd made regarding friendships. Then I wished I hadn't pushed P away the way I did. I think this just kind of highlights how college is a learning experience in multiple ways for people. There's obviously more of the nighttime-centered things you're going to learn, but also you learn not to be so vain over your assumption of people and who they are, because you might push away somebody that really wasn't causing any issues, and embrace somebody that does seem better, but ends up causing a lot more issues. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of revenge, it would be awesome if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. That said, our next story is, I made my ex-BFF lose a lot of money. I saw a quote a while back, something about the people you used to think you'd spend the rest of your life with becoming strangers. The quote was specifically talking about romantic relationships, but it reminded me of Alexa, not their real name, my former BFF. I honestly thought we would be friends till the end of time. We genuinely loved each other and had so much in common. We met in college as freshmen, but we dropped out halfway together. I still remember us being scared to tell our parents that we could no longer go on with school. It was a bit easier for me because my mom was going to take my side no matter what. She would always say that she trusted me and whatever decision I made. My dad was not like her though. He wanted all his kids to have a college degree. My friend's parents were academics, so dropping out of college was not an option. When we met, we talked about why we chose to go to college, and we both realized that we went to college solely to please our parents. I wanted to make beautiful dresses for people to wear, and my friend wanted to cook. We finally told our parents, and after we got their blessings, we left campus, rented an apartment together, and started to chase our dreams. My friend enrolled in a one-year culinary course, and I continued to practice sewing and making dresses for college students. I already knew how to sew since my grandmother was great at it, and my mother had learned from her too, but I couldn't afford to pay for an expensive class, so I decided to let experience and practice teach me. My ex-BFF and I rented a small apartment together, but after 2 years of living there, we moved out to find a bigger space. She needed a larger kitchen, and I needed more space to work too. We had the most beautiful relationship. Two ambitious young ladies trying to find their way in the world. We had boy drama, client drama, family drama, and other stuff, but we hardly ever argued about stuff that had to do with us. We just understood each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was close to perfection. The trouble began in our paradise when my friend started to date this guy she met at a party she helped cater to. He was a very cute guy, but something about him didn't quite sit right with me. He just seemed shady. When my friend asked me if I liked him, I told her, well, he's cute. She was not convinced, so she kept asking me what I meant. She knew I wasn't being completely honest about him. When she'd pestered me for a while, I gave in and told her that I thought he was shady. He smiled a lot, but it just seemed fake. I still don't know exactly how to put it, but his smile never really got to his eyes. He showed his teeth, and his mouth was always turned up in a smile, but his eyes looked expressionless. When I told my friend this, she shrugged and said, oh well, not everyone can be perfect like your boyfriend. I was surprised that she'd say something like that. I laughed it off, but I continued to think about it. She was clearly being sarcastic at the time, but I didn't get it. That night I asked her about it, but she insisted on not talking about it. I'm an overthinker, so naturally I started to think of different things. Did my friend hate the fact that I'd been in one relationship all my life? Was she jealous that I had a decent boyfriend? My best friend was a smart woman, but she had a thing for the bad boys of the world, men who gave her nothing but pain. I decided at the end to let it go. I wasn't going to allow negative thoughts about someone I'd been friends with for so long to sit in my mind. Surprisingly, my friend's relationship with her new beau became very strong in months. He was almost always in our apartment, and my friend was completely smitten. She was so consumed by their relationship that despite us living in the same house, I barely saw her. She was always with her boyfriend in her bedroom, or they would go out together. I started to realize why I was uncomfortable with their relationship all along. Her boyfriend was a user. He was always in our house, eating our food and driving my friend's car around town. He even behaved as though the car belonged to him. He also hardly ever went home. I doubt he even had a home. There were also times that I'd see my friend give him some money. I found his behavior very ridiculous, but I was careful not to piss my friend off. Since I told her he seemed shady, she never discussed him with me again. And since she didn't ask for my opinion on her boyfriend and relationship, or seemed to be interested in being given one, I couldn't just give her one. As the relationship progressed, my friendship with my friend declined slowly, but we still had it good. She showed up for me most times when I needed her, but we barely spent time together or did the fun things we used to do. The real trouble began when a client and two of her friends wanted me to sew their dinner dresses. The three ladies came to my house together. My workspace was in the house, and paid in full for the dresses after I'd taken their measurements. They all paid in cash. The fabric I was to use was a really expensive one, but I had to buy it myself. After talking about what the dresses would look like, I walked them to the door and they left. I left the money they gave me on the kitchen counter and went to have my bath. That was the last time I saw that money. I was shocked when, after having my bath, my money was not on the kitchen counter. I looked everywhere for the money, but I didn't see it. I knew it was there after my clients left, so there was no way they took it with them. I remembered counting the money again before leaving for the bathroom. The only other people in the house with me were my roommate/best friend and her boyfriend. I suddenly had a strong feeling that he had taken my money. I lived with my best friend for years and we had never had a missing money situation. I'm the kind of person that would leave money everywhere in the house, and I always keep my money wherever I keep it. After searching the entire house and nearly turning the house upside down, I went to my friend's room to tell her about the situation at hand. She and her boyfriend joined in the search, but we still did not find the money. I called my friend aside and told her that I thought her boyfriend may have taken the money, but she said there was no way he could have taken my money and walked out. That ended our joint search. She and her boyfriend returned to her room. That period was a dark one in my life. I had to take a hefty sum out of my savings to buy the fabrics and make the dresses for my clients. Barely 2 months later, my friend's boyfriend left her for a richer, older woman. She was so hurt that I sometimes got scared that she would harm herself. On one of the days that she was ranting about how much she'd done for him, she confessed that he stole my money, but she covered it up. He had admitted to her that he stole my money a week after he'd stolen it. I was so mad that I sent her out of my room. She knew how hard it was for me to come up with the money to make the dresses for my clients, yet she said nothing. I felt so betrayed and cried all through the night. I didn't want to talk to anyone, not even my boyfriend. My friend never agreed that what she did was wrong. She said her ex had spent all the money when he confessed to her anyway, so it wasn't like telling me would have brought my money back. After that day, I waited patiently for when I would get my revenge. My time came when one day she was asked to cater for the guests at a funeral for a wealthy family. A woman she had worked for was offered the job, but she had to cater for another event, so she assured them that my friend was just as good. The widow agreed to hire my friend. She was the happiest person and would not stop talking about how it was her chance to hobnob with the rich and affluent in the city. I pretended to wish her well while designing to mess with her business. She had messed with my money in business, so I was going to mess with hers in return. I spoke to my brother who was in college at the time. He had a special interest in entomology and was even in an entomology club, so I could trust him to bring me insects. When I asked him to send me cockroaches, he didn't even ask why. He just promised to send as many as I needed, and he kept his promise. I watched my friend prepare all the food for the funeral alone. She had no help because she couldn't afford to pay anyone to help her. Her ex had taken all her money, so she needed all the money she could get. As she worked, I pretended to be busy making sketches for my next design. When she was done, I helped her pack the food trays and baskets in her car. I did not empty my plastic bag of roaches in the meals she had prepared until she went back to the apartment to pick up the last food item. When she returned, I took it from her and put it in the trunk of her car. That way she wouldn't notice what I'd done until she'd reached her destination. Well, as I'd hoped and maybe even prayed for, she got to the funeral later than was scheduled. The hosts were already waiting for her, and as they took the food out of her trunk, the roaches crawled out. Naturally, the guests were horrified. She had to throw most of the food away, and the widow was so mad at her that she called her former boss to tell her about all that had happened. Anyway, long story short, my friend apologized to the widow, and she forgave her and promised not to badmouth her business. My friend, however, had to return the deposit, and that cost her a lot of money. We were even, and even though she cut me out of her life, I do not feel a single bit of regret for what I did to her. She didn't mind me losing money, and what her boyfriend did could have cost my business its reputation if I didn't have savings to go on with the sewing. I guess my question is, after this happens, considering, besides the boyfriend thing, considering you have worked out so well together this whole time, do you just try to ignore the both sides thing that's just happened and just try to go on? Or is that friendship still like dead? That said, our next story is, wicked colleague tries to ruin my career, so I show her who's boss. Every morning when I wake up to a new day, I have just one mission, and this day particularly, as I tell my story, glints of the city light mirrored my ambition as I scan the skyline from my office window to shine. I always want to shine no matter what. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Being a financial analyst might not seem like an easy thing to do for some. However, I seem to be born with the skills that come with shaping the corporate world of finance, and welding each battle time my way to the tune of success. I am always here to win, today or tomorrow, and surely with the kind of name I made for myself, no one wanted to be my rival, or so I thought. Each day starts with a symphony of pings, emails flood in, each one a new data point, a new variable in the ever-shifting equation of the market. I sip my lukewarm coffee as I download reports, news articles, anything that sheds light on the ever-churning financial machine. Numbers dance in my head. Growth rates, PE ratios, market caps, a constant mental ballet as I translate raw data into actionable insights. The day is a blur of meetings. I present my findings to colleagues, translating complex financial jargon into clear narratives. CEOs hang on my every word, their multi-million-dollar decisions resting on the forecasts I meticulously craft. The pressure is exhilarating, a constant hum in the background. Lunch is usually a protein bar between spreadsheet edits, but sometimes there's a win. A pitch I made is accepted, a client is happy with my analysis. In those moments, the endless calculations feel worthwhile, a validation of the long hours and mental gymnastics. Every time the market closes, I take a deep breath, the tension easing from my shoulders, yet the quiet doesn't last. The after-hours emails trickle in, new data whispering of fresh challenges. Because for a financial analyst, the dance with the market never truly ends. It's a constant chase, a relentless pursuit of understanding the ever-shifting tides of the financial world. Climbing the corporate ladder had always been the plan. Ever since I first crunched numbers, I envisioned myself at the top, steering the financial course of multinational giants. My drive was a relentless force, fueled by late nights, meticulous spreadsheets, and a thirst for knowledge that kept me ahead of the ever-shifting market trends. But ambition wasn't my only motivator. I craved more than just personal accolades. I wanted my financial expertise to make a real difference. Maybe through pioneering strategies that propelled companies to new heights, or by fostering a culture of integrity and excellence that inspired others to reach their full potential. The bottom line was important, sure, but it wasn't the whole story. I wanted to leave a legacy, a mark on the industry that spoke volumes about hard work and ethical leadership. Every day I walked into that office with a single purpose, to become the best. But the corporate world, as I soon discovered, wasn't always a meritocracy. There were darker forces at play, and my carefully charted course quickly took a sharp turn into the unexpected. Betrayal, revenge, and redemption. These were words I hadn't included in my initial plan, but fate, it seemed, had a different story in mind. Still, it was definitely game on. You'll always know when something's amiss. The stale office air was around thicker than usual. Things didn't seem right as I flipped through the latest report on my pet project. I could practically taste the tension. This wasn't just any project, I'd poured my heart and soul into it, leading the team with meticulous planning and laser focus. We were supposed to be a well-oiled machine, but instead, everything was grinding to a halt. Missed deadlines, costly errors, the whole thing teetering on the edge of disaster. Something was rotten in Denmark, and I had a sinking suspicion it wasn't the cheese. The deeper I dug, the more the stench of sabotage filled my nostrils. Missing emails, crucial intel vanishing into thin air, decisions I knew were sound getting inexplicably reversed. It all pointed to one person, Anna, my supposed right hand. Would Anna betray me this way? But why? It landed like a physical blow. How could someone I trusted, someone I'd confided in, turn on me like this? I still remember with fondness how we had bonded early in our career. Fresh out of school, I found myself on the same team as Anna, tasked with navigating this financial jumble. Our first handshake in the boardroom crackled with a shared energy, a mix of youthful ambition and nervous excitement. We were an unlikely pair, me meticulous and detail-oriented, her bold and bursting with innovative ideas. Yet somehow it worked. One late night, the pressure reached a fever pitch. Spreadsheets swam before bleary eyes. Legal jargon danced a dizzying jig. It was then, huddled over endless documents in the hushed conference room, that a connection deeper than mere colleagues bloomed. We shared dreams, fears, the vulnerability that comes with long nights and high stakes. In those quiet moments, a camaraderie blossomed, fueled by exhaustion and a shared sense of purpose. When the deal finally closed, it was a victory for the company, but for us, it was more. We had conquered the mountain together, a testament to the power of teamwork. Little did I know that that very mountain we'd scaled together would soon become the precipice from which my trust would fall. The memory of that night, now a bittersweet echo, a reminder of how something so strong could be so easily shattered. Now, years of meticulously building my reputation were now at risk. Of course, trust the work gossips to say any and everything that they could to bring me down. Perhaps I was unbearable to work with, but no focused person is ever easy anyways. Anna had played this like a master, leaving no clear trail to expose her. Frustration simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. I wouldn't let her win. I had to find the truth, clear my name, reclaim what was rightfully mine. But the path to justice, I was starting to realize, might be darker, more dangerous than I ever imagined. This wasn't just about proving myself anymore. I had to do something about it. I tore through the night, fueled by a burning desire for the truth. Every email, document, and digital footprint became a piece of a puzzle revealing Anna's sabotage. There was a way nature would agree with you to accomplish her plans, and as such, sleep was a distant memory, replaced by the relentless hum of my computer and the boiling anger beneath my skin. Then, a breakthrough. Buried deep in the digital web, incriminating emails detailing Anna's sabotage of the project, designed to make me look incompetent. But the real gut punch? Her plan wasn't just about the project, it was about me. She'd been meticulously chipping away at my reputation, ensuring I wouldn't be a threat. Anna wasn't just a colleague who made a mistake, she was a cunning predator, played a long game for personal gain, and here I thought she was a friend. Of course, the mission had to shift. It wasn't just about clearing my name anymore, it was about justice. With this strong resolve, I prepared to confront her, armed with the truth and a determination to reclaim my place. The evidence burned in my hand, not from fire but from the cold fury that coursed through me. Anna wouldn't just get a slap on the wrist, no, she'd built a house of cards, and I'd be the one to light the match. First, I needed to understand her. What were her weaknesses, the cracks in her facade? I became a ghost, watching, listening, piecing together her life. Ambition, her fuel, could also be her downfall. She craved recognition, a promotion over my dead body, metaphorically speaking. Perfect. I couldn't do this alone. Trusted allies, those who understood the weight of her betrayal, were brought into the fold. Each received only the need to know. A single thread in a web I was meticulously weaving. A leak could unravel everything, endanger everyone. Strategy sessions became my new reality. Subtle manipulation, calculated sabotage, nothing was off the table. A part of me reveled in the darkness of it all, but a larger part craved justice. This wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake, but ensuring she never hurt anyone again. The plan solidified. A complex machine with a singular purpose: dismantle Anna's world. The path ahead was a tightrope walk, but with every step, a cold satisfaction bloomed within me. Justice, even at this cost, was within reach. My plan was a loaded gun and the chamber was full. Timing was everything. Move too early and Anna would smell a rat. Wait too long and she might slither away, leaving me empty-handed. So, I took aim, each step an echo of months of strategizing. The first shots were whispers. I nudged resources away from her projects, subtle delays that chipped away at her credibility. Under the guise of teamwork, I would plant doubts about her competence, disguised as organic observations during meetings. It was a slow burn, but doubt spreads like smoke. Weeks later, I upped the ante. Leaks to key figures, carefully crafted to paint Anna as unreliable, a ticking time bomb. I orchestrated situations that forced her into no-win choices. Each decision a hammer blow to her reputation. Most insidious, though, was turning her ambition against her. I fueled her desire for advancement, subtly steering her towards disastrous decisions. The more desperate she became, the more likely she was to make a fatal misstep, and misstep she did. One by one, her mistakes piled up, dominoes toppling her once perfect facade. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs to open questions. Projects she championed laid in ruins, monuments to her own arrogance. Through it all, I remained a ghost in the machine. I watched, a grim satisfaction settling in my gut as her world imploded, the sweet melody of justice. Yet there was a bitter aftertaste. Revenge, I realized, wasn't a clean game. No one emerges unscathed, but for now, the scales were balanced. Anna was reaping the harvest of her betrayal, and that, for the moment, was enough. My plan, a meticulously constructed mousetrap, snapped shut. Anna's world unraveled with each tick of the clock. The collateral damage was undeniable. Her once sterling reputation lay in smoldering ruins. Colleagues who once fawned now eyed her with suspicion, their past trust replaced by a chilling doubt. Superiors, once her biggest advocates, retreated, unwilling to be splashed by the fallout of her failures. But the most brutal blow wasn't professional. It was the isolation, the chilling realization that she was utterly alone. The ambition that fueled her rise now twisted into a desperate scramble to salvage the wreckage. With every grasp at a lifeline, she only plummeted further. In the end, Anna was left with the bitter dregs of defeat. She could no longer prove herself at the company, and with whispers of the impending doom that was her sack imminent, she let herself go with the last layer of dignity she had. She resigned. Betrayal had a price, and revenge a steeper one. Anna's career crumbled like dust in my fist. Justice, though a harsh mistress, had finally been served. The moral lines blurred, sure, but I wouldn't apologize for protecting myself. This wasn't about vengeance for its own sake. It was about reclaiming my life, my reputation. The storm had battered me, tested me, but I'd weathered it. Now, the air felt lighter, clearer. The weight of her betrayal lifted. My path stretched out before me. Time to rebuild with a sharpened focus, a steely resolve. The scars remained, a testament to the battle fought, but they were badges of honor too. They might throw challenges my way, but I was ready. This crucible had forged me anew, stronger, more resilient. The future beckoned, and I met its gaze head on. No obstacle could faze me now. I had faced the darkness, emerged on the other side, and emerged the winner. Honestly, I feel like this was an incredibly overwritten post just to say like their secretary or their assistant or somebody they worked with was trying to essentially steal their position, and so they did what they could with other colleagues to kind of ruin their reputation in the office and leave it so bad that they just had to quit. It was a weaving of a tapestry of layers of revenge or something. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.